this is just a reminder for you to not beat yourself up when you're not in a certain stage where you want to be, because there are so many elements in life that our soul comes to be transformed in. We all have a different way, a different path of how our lives is set up, what challenges we are being given, what challenges to overcome, what lessons to learn on a soul level, on a emotional level, on all of that. Sometimes, the first lessons might be in love, the other times it might be in finances. We all have different stages. Sometimes people who are very successful have not looked at the internal world as much, and they might have a natural drive to, work hard, stick to it, focus. But then, they might on the love side not have worked on the self-love part. So what we see on the outside is not necessarily meaning that the person is more ahead than you. Sometimes, you might be more ahead on an emotional level, on a soul level, than a person who's very successful on a physical level. Success is not measured by how much you have in terms of money or possessions or followers or anything like this. Sometimes the perceived what we perceive as success that somebody else has could be experienced in a completely different way. They might feel like they're not successful in love. They might feel like, the relationships in general, friendships or, family might not be healed. There might be lots of healing still to do. And all of this, might not apply to all of the people, but I just want you to know that if you feel that somebody else is ahead of you, then that's an illusion, because we are all here to go through different experiences, through different challenges that are just exactly what we need to go through. And because somebody else might have gone to experience success on a level of creating their art business before you, doesn't mean that you're behind. You might have an area of your life where you might, have lived through something that they haven't lived through yet. So the comparison that we do doesn't really make sense in some way, right? But we do compare. We do find that, we think that somebody else is ahead of us. But then on a spiritual level, we might learn something from them, but on the spiritual level, they might still have a lot of healing to do, and something that you've really worked hard on. Some things are, very difficult for some people to go into, look at their internal world and to see, see themselves in a true light. They might fear that a lot, but they might be very successful on the outside of things. So I would just really take it with a pinch of salt and just remind yourself that you are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Your soul has taken you here, going through all the challenges that you have, which are valuable, and you have gone through them. So I just want to remind you that you are exactly where you need to be, and you are an inspiration to another person. And in the world where Instagram or where people put a lot of weight on success, and of course there is this element of really, I can really understand that, because for me it's also something that I want and that excites me, to have that physical success. But at the same time, it's about really putting things into perspective and knowing that, hey, but there's been many years of going into working on the subconscious, working on your emotional world, moving through addictions, dealing with gambling issues, dealing with relationship issues, dealing with family voids and all kinds of issues, right? There's so much that we sometimes go through that we're not patting ourselves on the back for all of the transformation that we have done. And there comes a time when the focus shifts, and where you're free to focus on something more, And perhaps, having done all of the other work, you are then ready to go and work on the thing that, on the thing that might be business building or creating finances in some way to feel more free, to create the art business that you want, or to create any sort of business or serving people that you want. But give yourself time, because the other part has also taken some time. The healing, the all of the things that you've worked through have taken time. And that's the thing. Sometimes we might think somebody is highly successful, and why am I not successful yet? But you have been successful, and it's just the way of how you're perceiving whatever success means to you might need to shift. Lots of, especially with the intangible things sometimes, that such as the internal world, working on all of that we take for granted, because my God, it takes so much to move through the internal world and process old trauma, and come into your courageous self sometimes, to face your fears and speak up, and all those things that are unseen on a physical level, especially for neurodivergence. And I'm saying especially because there's a whole lot of emotional stuff going on, which sometimes feels so hard to process, to navigate, to silence in some way. It's not about silencing it, but it's about shifting your perspective, but also shifting those strong emotions out of your body. And it can be difficult, of course, but you've come so far. And so success on the physical level, whatever you have envisioned, will follow too. Just to be really patient with yourself and try not to compare yourself. As I mentioned, some people might have the physical success but haven't looked at their emotional world yet, haven't faced that, have fear of facing that, or might have a big ego. And I'm not saying that this is the exact way of how it is, but I just want to put the perspective there on that's possible too, and that you're not seeing all of the work that you have done so far. Sending my love to you, and wish you a wonderful day.